Class is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Nick Thompson. We're going to go ahead and get started today with our webinar. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us today. We're going to take a look at how selling manufacturing products remotely can actually bring your products to life and engage your customers all from your own home, where most of us are spending most of our time right now. So let's go ahead and get started with some brief introductions. First, my name is Nick Thompson, and I lead our product marketing team here at Tacton. And with me here for demoing purposes, I have Per Rodin, who handles all of our demonstration products and offerings here. And so let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room here with our agenda. And we're going to talk about the new ways of working. Everybody has a new challenge of working remotely, and we're facing challenges of how we can continue to accelerate our sales, continue to be super efficient, all in this new remote world that isn't necessarily always been the case with B2B selling, and then actually show how we can use this new flexibility to create engaging customer experience, and then what are the benefits of being able to do that. So we have a new way of working. Everybody across the entire world, for the first time in probably any of our lifetimes, have this situation where we're working remotely. We have to continue our lives the best that we can in all of our roles, but doing it remotely can create a few different challenges. And in manufacturing specifically, a lot of these challenges that we've seen before are actually just being accelerated. So in manufacturing, traditionally, there's been a longer sales cycle. Everybody has their customized products that they're trying to put together. There's internal silos that are created within an organization for manufacturers that sometimes they have to challenges working in the most efficient way. But what working remotely has done is really accelerate those challenges. So manufacturers are now facing this digital transformation, and it's becoming necessary to operate efficiently and continue moving forward and selling products. So it's really begging the question of whether or not virtual meetings and demos can replace face-to-face selling. And there's a whole lot of challenges that come with that in remote selling. And right now, face-to-face meetings are just not feasible. The closest you can get in most cases are going on a video call of some sort. With technology that we have now, it makes that possible. But all these meetings with sales need to happen virtually. So you're no longer going to have that face-to-face interaction and building that relationship and showcasing products to one another in a physical manner. Now distractions are greater. Everybody's at home. Everybody has families, pets, distractions that are in the home that wouldn't be in a face-to-face meeting. So there's a whole different challenge of keeping people's attention when they have families, roommates, and various pets and other challenges around their homes. So demoing products online can also be challenging for similar reasons. It's hard to create an engaging experience when you're not face-to-face and you don't have someone's undivided attention. So what we're going to do now is take a look at how we actually can create a engaging demo experience and engaging sales meetings for manufacturers, and how by doing that, we're able to overcome all of these challenges and still create an engaging customer experience, all while being efficient internally for manufacturers, as well as creating an engaging sales experience. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Per, who's going to show you exactly how that's possible.
Thanks, Nick. Before we start, I just want to reframe what we mean by manufacturing products. These are a couple of examples of what's included there. They involve a high degree of customization. They typically are produced after ordering, so no pick on the shelf. They often involve systems and interconnected products with other vendors' products within the whole system there. They're often high-value items, and they involve typically a very complex supply chain with both internal and external production facilities. And they can be sold by both direct and indirect sales. So this complicates, this is a quite complex chain of products that we see here. Oftentimes fitting and sizing are constrained by the physical location in a factory or a plant, or so it often means that the challenges of remote sales actually becomes a bit larger compared to business to consumer kind of products. And the challenges that B2B sales faces are accelerating with this remote requirements that we talk about here, but they have actually been there all the time. I mean, how to make these highly configurable and customizable products easy to configure, price, and buy, that's an internal challenge that we all wrestle with day to day, regardless of Corona or not, right? How do we fulfill the quote promises in both a customer-friendly way and a profitable way? How do we make the handovers between sales, installation, production, and service in a profitable way, so we keep that margin all the way through the project and still make the customer happy without delays and order errors and those kind of things? How do we shift the conversation with the customer from products and features to values? That's something that's becoming increasingly more important as we go into this more outcome-based economy, as you were aware of. How do I use my entire portfolio to generate leads online? How do we bring those complex and that product variant out online for our customers to be engaged by? And how do we create that customer engagement throughout the entire buying and order fulfillment experience? So again, these are challenges that we've seen before, but they accelerate now in this remote kind of sales situation. And what's needed is really that we still embrace this high product variance. Our customers and your customers will want to have custom solutions all through in order to fit with their business processes. But we need to handle that product variance in a profitable way. So instead of having engineer to order one-offs, creating problems in factory and installation and service, we need to move over to a more configure to order kind of business process where those variants are controlled in a way. That means that we need to align with the organization. Typically, the different parts of your organization, R&D, sales, production, they don't have a shared language about the product, and oftentimes they compete and have different agendas within the organization. And we need to break those silos with a shared product definition and a common language between those. We also need to be able to translate customer needs or values and outcomes into a technical solution in a consistent way, thereby bridging this, enabling this value-based selling rather than products. And importantly, we need to empower sales reps and customers with an easy to understand interface to this configured product, so that both sales rep and customers understand what they are configuring and what they're buying during all stages of the process. So we typically at Tacton, we talk about a product definition. There needs to be a product definition that is cross-functional and shared, that allows us to have this smooth customer journey all through the sales and order fulfillment. And that product definition needs to involve, of course, engineering product architecture. We need to ensure that the right modules and the right parts fit together in a technical solution. But we also need to involve customer needs. We need to define the functionality and performance of the capital equipment so that the customer actually gets the business value that they expect, and that we fulfill the quote promises that we give to that we promise to the customer. Then, of course, manufacturability. The factory needs to be prepared for the product variant coming down on the assembly line with the feeders and everything, and so does serviceability. So service and manufacturing needs to also be part of this product definition, so they are prepared on what's coming in the order fulfillment process. There are also market compliance rules, of course. We all live in a global economy. Compliance rules are important, and there are different standards in different markets that needs to be addressed and needs to be adhered to. That also need to be sort of baked into this product definition. And then, of course, pricing logic and data to ensure that we have a compelling offer to the customer, but still that we keep the margin and we define the margin the right way to keep the product profitable all through the order fulfillment process. And then finally, of course, we need to then have this interface to the sales rep or the customer, an easy way in which these aspects can be configured and set up on their own, basically. Moreover, as you know, we have different channels. You have direct sales and partner sales. You have self-service channels. Maybe you also are present in some sort of e-procurement systems where you actually reach new customers. And that product definition needs to be available across those different channels. So we need to ensure that the same definition is actually distributed across these channels. Thereby, we will make the buying of the complex and customized products simple for everyone in your ecosystem, not only direct sales, but for all of us. So our solution, Tacton, we have a powerful product definition tools in our portfolio, and where we define the product not in matrices and where engines and gearboxes are combined together, but we work with modules and assemblies, and we work with features and attributes on those modules rather than combining them in a matrix. And then we can add powerful constraints on top of those features. So if you have a modularized product architecture where different modules in your architecture fit together with clear bound interfaces, those would be defined by the constraints. And this allows you to handle a very complex portfolio with a few simple constraints and attributes, and enabling you to introduce new module variants as you go along. We also allow you to define the output of that configuration. So the order materials such as bill of materials, CAD files, and pricing of that particular product variant, we are also enabling in our product definition tools. On top of that, then, you're allowed to define the needs-based questions, or the customer needs-based questions that's sort of interfacing to that product model. Needs-based questions that sales reps can understand and can make a judgment on together with a customer that maybe is not technically savvy in that sense. And of course, then we can add the visualization. We will come more to this later. Also bringing a better understanding of what you are configuring while you're doing it. So let's move on to a demo where we showcase these capabilities. So let's share here. Now let's assume that this is a truck vendor. You're configuring a truck. And this is our Tacton's configurator main interface. And this is not a simple questionnaire. This is a very crafted product model allowing you to always have a valid product variant defined. So you are not able to generate product variants which are invalid or unprofitable in with this tool, because it adheres to that product model that we just saw. And there are a couple of things here to enable, empower the sales person or the customer. We have needs-based questions. We have a visualization. Of course, we have a technical solution down to the bill of material level of this particular truck, this truck variant. And of course, we have also price execution here based on our pricing engine. So these would not be list prices or catalog prices, but rather executed customer net prices based on customer in the market and the frame agreement that you have with that particular customer. So let me just explain here. And these outputs here, they update as we go along and answer questions. So these are the needs-based questions that you would be answering together with the customer. And think about this as demoing this to a customer online via Teams or Zoom or something like this. So for instance, if I now select here topography of this truck and I change from flat to very hilly, for instance, we will see that the bill of material and the technical solution automatically updates the engine to a more powerful to be able to perform that functionality that we promise to the customer in this case. Same goes for another example here could be we select another market. Let's say we select Great Britain. And as you can see, the emission standard now changed to Euro. We had a Euro 6 engine here instead of that US EPA standard. So the sales rep doesn't need to care about the emission standards of the different markets. It's automatically selected for you in the configuration process, and it's immediately updating the order materials as well as the visualization and the pricing. I also want to show you one more thing, and that's related to conflict resolution. So as you go along here and make decisions, you may actually, some of these selections may be in conflict with one another. So for instance, if I select dirt road here for this truck, and then I go to a suspension, I would like to have a suspension system, we'll see here that the grayed out options here are actually incompatible with that dirt road selection. So if whereas the white ones are compatible. So if I select the gray one here, there will be a conflict resolution message asking the user to actually resolve this conflict. And in this way, this is the process by which we ensure that the product variants defined in this configuration settings are always valid from a technical standpoint, as well as other standpoints. And it should also be mentioned that these resolutions are automatically triggered by the product model. So it's no custom coding or anything like this. These are based on the constraints and the product model that we define. Okay, so of course, and then we also have the visualization. So all through this configuration settings, the truck is updated with the right stuff. So if we, for instance, decide that this truck is to be used by the driver 2 nights in a week, perhaps, we'll see that it now added the sleeper cab here, and could also be other things in the solution. And finally, we can also generate the QR code for this, which can be scanned by the AR app, augmented reality app, which allows us to place this truck in the context where it's supposed to be, in its location where it's supposed to be used. We'll come to this later. But all in all, these are tools that empower the user, which in this case is the sales rep or the customer themselves, to configure a quite complex piece of capital equipment. Let's go back to our slideshow here. Okay, so the benefits here are really that we still embrace this high product variance. You can configure millions of different truck variants with this, but it's still a valid, compliant, and profitable solution that you will have, and that's the ensured by that underlying shared product definition. We've seen how we use needs-based rather than technical configuration that allows the customer conversation to move up, speaking about values rather than products. It also, of course, decreased the sales rep's ramp up. You don't need to teach your sales rep about the technical details of all the features and offers that you have in your portfolio, but they can actually start selling complex product variants early on, focusing on the needs-based rather than the technical solution. And of course, it also shortens the time to volume, because the sales rep don't select the technical solution here. It's chosen by the configurator. If you have a large portfolio and complex portfolio, maybe your sales rep are not kept up to date with all the new features coming out. So there's often a tendency among sales reps to copy old quotes, thereby selling not legacy products, but maybe older products, and thereby you decrease the time to volume for your new features or engines or gearboxes that coming out from your R&D department. With a needs-based configuration approach, that time to volume is actually shortened because it's the configurator that picks those technical solutions for you. Of course, you have this immediate validation, which means that you can have quick turnarounds between sales rep and the customer. And there are no sales engineers involved here. So the speed by which you converse with the customer is greatly increased. Of course, if there are technically very complex solutions that needs to be in place, of course, sales engineers need to be in place to sidestep the configure to order process. But that's a sort of we try to minimize those processes with this configure to order. And all of the tools that you've seen here, they're accessible, they're engaging the customer, and moreover, finally, we can do all this on a remote fashion. We can do this by screen sharing, and we can a sales rep can actually engage customers through this engaging interface. Let me move on to another aspect of remote selling, which is the self-service. I mean, that's sort of the essence of remote selling in a way, because the customer actually takes care of the buying experience herself. And we try to use the same accessibility and engagement tools that we saw before in the direct sales case. We now make them also available for B2B self-service. And self-service typically are embedded into other systems. So the tool that you just saw is Tacton's internal sales tools. But of course, in the case of self-service, you want to embed the self-service on public websites, in e-commerce platforms and e-procurement platforms. So to balance this, we offer an API to those engagement tools, but the GUI and the interface to those, or the interface, needs to be built by customers. We provide some template here as well, but the API provides this support for self-service. So let's see how this could look in a real situation. So here is a fictive vertical transportation company called Parker Lifts. They're selling elevators and escalators. And this is their public website, which is then connected via the API to Tacton's product definition. So if we go, so the GUI here is created by Parker Lifts themselves to make it compatible with their branding and with their look and feel in this context. But all the data and the configuration interactions are coming from the API connected to Tacton. So if we sign in here as a end customer now, she can now start shopping and start configuring that elevator that we saw. And now we have a configuration interface here, which is customized by Parker Lifts, but we're using the same product definition, the same product model as a direct sales channel would, which means that you are not duplicating product definitions across channels, but you are originating from the same one, which actually improves, decreases errors and maintenance time to set those up. So, but you see the same kind of engagement tools that we have here as before, we also make available here. So you have needs-based questions, you have price execution here for this known customer, you have the solution with the bill of material, as well as the visualization and the augmented reality as well here, which means that during the self-service, the customer can actually go out and place the elevator in its context and see how it fits with the conditions on site. So this is a known user. This customer has a relationship with Parker Lifts already, but we also offer anonymous users to browse the catalog. So let's log out here as Lisa, but we can still allow anonymous users to engage in the same kind of way. And this is important because these are typically users that don't, these are leads and prospects early in the procurement phase that don't have a relationship with Parker Lifts yet and they haven't reached out to the sales reps yet. They're still in this procurement and the pre-RFX phase, where they're trying to define the buying criteria before an RFX is being sent out. And this is a critical moment where you as a vendor can influence the buying criteria of that customer. And by allowing an unknown customer in this way to access the full potential of your portfolio online without logging in and without any contact with the sales rep, you actually can teach the customer about new technical features maybe they didn't know about, or teach the customer about values that they may not know about, and thereby influencing the buying criteria that they define in the RFX. So this is a great opportunity to capture customers early in the sales process. Okay, I'm just going to show you a couple of last slides here. So this is how augmented reality looks in action. We'll send you a couple of videos after this webinar where you can see this in action yourself. But this is how it would look from a user perspective. So the outcomes of all this: we improve the operational efficiency. We decrease the number of manual handovers. We decrease the order errors because we have a shared product definition across the order fulfillment process. We accelerate sales velocity, the quick turnarounds between sales and customer, both relating to product options as well as pricing and the visualization, accelerates the ways in which business are being done. We enhance the customer experience with all these engagement tools. We allow them to explore the products visually, pricing, on-site, with different kinds of tools, need-based and outcome-based configuration as well. And then, of course, you compete on value. You are allowed to shift the customer conversation to value and performance and functionality rather than product and features. And most importantly for this discussion, it can be done remotely. So, last slide. We will share a couple of links with you after this meeting where you can explore this on your own. So we have one video about how to sell manufacturing products remotely, where we have a scenario with a direct sales rep and a customer, and they're both sitting at home, and how the sales rep then manages to demo that truck to the customer, the prospect, in an engaging way. And then we have another video about visual configuration, how visual configuration improves your operational efficiency and customer success all through the sales and order fulfillment process. So with that, I am done. Are we taking questions, Nick?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type those up in our chat. I haven't seen any yet. Additionally, we will follow up with the email with links, which you can also respond to if you have any additional questions, or if you would like to request a personal demo. We are happy to do that for you as well. But otherwise, thank you for joining, and we look forward to staying in contact with you.